Hello, welcome to Authentically You, where you're guided by light and you have all the power. So, today I want to talk about a couple of things. I didn't really take notes today, but I have two things on my list that I just want to make sure I cover. And so, the first one, nothing has meaning until you have a meaning. And I want to piggyback off the videos that I posted on TikTok because I posted about you give everything meaning and what else do you have to lose? So I'm going to cover those two things, expand on those two videos that I posted because I'm feeling guided to do it. So let's just go with it. You give everything meaning. What does that really mean? So, we've talked about energy. We've talked about who you are being, what you identify as, right? Like your identity. And I don't mean pronouns or anything like that. So please don't even start with that. If you're have an issue with that, I mean, because right, there should be no issue. But how do you identify yourself as? Your identity. We are born with no memory, no beliefs, no assumptions, nothing. We're born a blank canvas, right? And then what is it that shapes us into who we are? What shapes us? What shapes our identity as we grow up in our experiences, right? I just mentioned some of the things that shape our experiences, right? Shape our beliefs. So the main one is your family, right? Where you grow up, how you grow up, your family traditions, even your own family's beliefs and stuff get passed down. Even if you maybe don't necessarily believe them, at least for me, like I talked about Christianity and how there were some things, some parts about Christianity that I didn't resonate with, but I felt like I blindly had to believe it because everyone else was. I didn't want to seem like a bad Christian. And so it's like that too. Like it can be like that too, where you grow up in an environment where everything is perceived a certain way. So you grow up with those perceptions, right? And so then when you grow up and you start meeting other people and interacting with other people, you might realize maybe the things that I have perceptions about, beliefs about, are not correct. Or, at least for me, I had to adjust some of my things as I grew up, as I went to school, as I educated myself. I had to adjust some of those beliefs from growing up, right? That I inherited from growing up, from my environment, from my family. And then as you go through life, those different experiences, your education, where you work, the people you meet in your life, they end up shaping you into who you are without even really trying, right? Like you just accept what people project onto you as truth and you take that in and you believe it for yourself. And no one ever taught us that that's not how it should be done. No one ever taught us that, hey, your family can sometimes be wrong. You don't have to believe everything you grow up believing in your environment. It's not always true. Like no one tells us this while growing up, right? So instead we grow up thinking that those things are true, those things we accept them as our truth even though they're not. They really aren't. At least for me, like as I have been going through my spiritual journey, and you know how I mentioned, like, when you don't have your energy protected, you just collect other people's energy projections of you onto you and you accept them, you take that on, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally, even. Sometimes you don't realize how something has bothered you or you think you're over something, and then at least for me, like there were certain things that I thought I was over, but spirit brought them up during one of my alignment loops, like, no, this is still in your system, like this is still like sitting, it's unprocessed in your system that you need to address it. I'm like, oh, okay. So then I addressed it, right? And then there are things like experiences, moments that I shared with family members, that, yeah, they affected me at the time. And maybe I held some resentment. Maybe I held like a little bit of bitterness about that situation or that scenario with those family members, with those people. But like essentially, I felt like I got over it, right? But Spirit showed me like, no, there's still something there, a bit of residue from that. And so just goes to show you, sometimes even if you think you're really over something, the energy doesn't lie and it brings it up. It's like, no, there's still a bit of that left, because clearing your energy. So one time I was washing dishes. I had just made eggs, and you know how like the eggs get stuck on the eggs get like they form this like film over the pan. And I was in my old apartment scrubbing the pan, and it takes layers to fully get it off, right? It takes one layer, you go over it, a little bit of layer comes out, and then a little. And as I was doing that, Spirit's like, that's how clearing your energy works. It's in layers. Like it's precise, it's in layers. That's why sometimes you might feel like, I thought I already healed this. No, it's just another layer of that, because the bigger the trauma, the bigger the unprocessed emotion, the unprocessed thing that's stuck in there, the more layers you have to go through. So that was a good visual that Spirit gave me while I was washing dishes. I was like, okay, that helped me understand, because I had a lot of experiences like that during my alignment loops that would come up. It's like, wait, I thought we did this already. Like I would get a little frustrated almost, because I'm like, I already did this. Like, shadow work is rough. So it's like, when I already did something, like I want to get credit for it. So like, I already did this. And it's like, no, it's another layer of this that's coming up. So just keep that in mind as well. So anyway, as I was saying, nothing is real until you make it real. You accepting something as true makes it real in your reality. So the assumptions you have about yourself, the beliefs you have about how you make money, how you find love, all those things are from the thing, like, all your experiences about that are reflected based on how you have them internally. So, if you're someone that believes all men are trash, well, what's going to happen every time you go on a date with a man? They're going to prove to you that they're trash, because that's what you keep saying. Words are spells. Words are more powerful than you think. And with this new energy is more responsive. The response time is quicker. We're going to be seeing karma coming back around quicker as well. And be careful with the things that you say and the things that you assume, because they become part of your reality. And it's not about saying, oh, it's your fault that you're living the life that you're living. No, it has nothing to do with that. You didn't know that that's what shaped your life. So it's not your fault. It's not your fault. But, once you become aware of it, and then you actively don't do anything about it or refuse to do the shadow work, there's still nothing wrong with that. Free will is free will. And if you say, I am content being this way, then that's totally fine and totally, you're right. This message is not for you, but this message is for those that are feeling their soul stirring, that have been feeling it. I went to an antique shop today I still have a few pieces to collect for my apartment. I want to get some art pieces. There was a ring I had a heart ring that represents something important to me, that it was turning my finger green. And so I was like, I need to get a better version of this ring, so it could like something more permanent that won't tarnish my finger, that won't tarnish and won't mess up my finger, that represents this special thing to me. So I stopped by the antique store, and I almost forgot, because I went to get my nails done. I went to see a friend. We went to get some coffee. I dropped her off, and I had made the decision to go to this antique store when I was at the nail shop. And I was like out of habit, because I hang out with this friend at least twice a week. Out of habit, I was about to head home after dropping her off, and then Spirit nudged me like, "Hey, don't forget the antique store you decided to go to." And I'm like, "All right," because it was in the same area. So I went. As I'm driving, there's this band I like to listen to. It's this Christian heavy metal band. I still listen to some Christian music. I still, even though my beliefs are not exactly in that, I still resonate with the music, some of the music. And so the song that played was called Victory by Sleeping Giant. And it says, "I have the DNA of heaven in me." Hold on. Let me get the words right, because it's like, it's not a very long song. But as I was driving to the antique store, "I have the DNA of heaven in me. Strongholds will fall when I pray. I am a miracle and nothing will contain me. I am your victory." And then again, it repeats that. "Jesus, my victory." And then it just repeats that. "I live in love because you now live in me. I am a prophet and king. I will do miracles and nothing will contain me. I am your victory." So that's basically like, it just repeats, and it's just like, so that caught my attention, because Spirit uses songs a lot with me to nudge me when there's like an activation happening or whatever. And this one was pointing toward an activation because it's come up before during an activation. And so I'm at the point in my journey where I'm trying to think, what level would that be called? I don't know all the names of the levels or anything. I feel like I've merged with my higher self. I feel myself becoming more peaceful every day. Like, the peace just gets more and more peaceful, if that's even possible. And I know I've talked about that before, about how I've never reached this level of peace before, and it just keeps getting even more peaceful, if that's even possible, right? So anyway, at least for me, when I was learning about awakening, about the spiritual journey, doing my own research, I read about how your DNA, even you're able to transform your DNA. Like, that's part of that internal transformation. You transform your DNA. And I don't know, that just resonated with me, because it's like, I don't know, it's confirming that internal knowing of like my own journey and my own path. Like, I know I've been healing things inside of me. So I just took that as confirmation, right? And since I was taking an aligned action, I just feel like Spirit was nudging me. It's like, you're being activated right now. But at the time, I didn't realize it was an act. I just knew. I just took note of the song, and I took note for it for later. And I went to the antique shop. And so it was an antique shop that specializes in like really fancy furniture and chandeliers. So everything was like ridiculously expensive, but like, that's not necessarily what I was looking for. But I still looked around, because I knew I was there for something. I just didn't know exactly what. I just followed the nudge, right? I was like, I feel like something here is for me. So I just looked around. They had like glass cases of things, and they had some jewelry, like very little jewelry, like just one shelf of rings and things like that. And I had seen on their website they had this Aztec poison ring, and I was like, ooh, maybe I should check that out, because I felt like a nudge from my ancestors, and I was like, let's check it out. And I ended up also seeing this Art Deco ring it was like right next to it, and that one caught my attention. I originally wanted to get a heart ring, because the ring I was trying to replace had little pink hearts in it. But I said, this has like little green emeralds, and green represents heart chakra, heart, divine feminine. I think even I saw even like womb or something like that. And I was like, okay, that resonates with the meaning that my other ring had, right? So I was like, okay, this is the same. I could give it the same meaning. It doesn't have to have a heart, but it still has the energy, So first I got that ring, and then I'm like, let me check out the Aztec ring. There was a lady there, and she was helping me, and I was like, oh, the Aztec, like, it wasn't on the tag. I had seen it on the website. And she's like, oh, are you Mexican? And I said, yeah. I said, I work with my ancestors. Like, I do energy work and I work with my ancestors. And she's like, she starts asking me questions about that. Like, oh yeah, like, how do you work with them? And at first I was like, and so I started, when people ask me about things, I kind of like, I take pause first and I give a generalized answer first, like a more protected answer rather than before disclosing everything, just because I want to make sure it's the right vibe first before knowing, like, I want to know what the motives are behind the question before fully answering. Like, I feel like that's a form of protecting your energy. And I noticed that she was interested, like, she was curious, interested, curious. Like, it wasn't like judgment, it wasn't like trying, So I was like, okay. So, she's showing me the rings. And at one point, there was another Art Deco ring. I'm like, let me check that one out. And I'm like, how much is that one? And there was no price tag on it. So she had to go on the computer to look for it. And she got a little distracted, like talking to me from looking up the price. She even, I'm so sorry. I'm like, no, it's fine. Like, I was having the best time talking about this to someone. Like, I love talking to people about this who are interested in hearing about it, So I'm here talking my mouth, talking my ass off about everything. I was like, it's funny. I just made a podcast episode about this stuff, and here's my TikTok, things like that. I left my handle and everything. And she's like, I've been feeling something, and I feel like you just came and you confirmed everything for me. And I kept like telling her about other stuff. Like, I kept answering her questions, and she's like, I just got chills. And I'm like, that's your body confirming that what I'm saying is true. I encourage her to use her own discernment and do her own research. I was like, do your own research. Don't just blindly believe me either. Do your own research, make your own conclusions, use your discernment. I said, but I encourage you to check out my stuff if you have any questions. Like, I talk a lot about this because I feel like my stuff is aimed toward people who are new to the journey. Obviously, people who've been on the journey for a long time obviously are welcome too. But the material that I talk about, like, I want to specifically try to make it digestible for people that are new to the journey. Like, for me, where I first learned, I'm like, what does all this stuff mean? And I had to look up the meaning. Like, I'm trying to make this more accessible for people who are not into the spiritual talk, like that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what I was like, when I was explaining to her too about that. And she seemed very interested. And so I did end up buying the rings. Yes, I feel like that was divinely orchestrated too, but Spirit put that person in my path. Like, Spirit wanted me to go to that store to talk to that person so that person could feel my energy. Because she's like, I could feel your energy. She's like, it feels nice. Like, it wasn't just my words. Like, she could feel the proof of it, of the work I've done. Almost like she was like, she just seemed very fascinated. And so, I was very grateful for that. I was like, I love it when days flow like that. And then I get home and, I've mentioned that my magic room, for the woo-woo fans, my magic room is magical. It's very magical, and a lot of magical things have already happened. And there's something important that the lady I talked to, her name is Maribel, by the way, she mentioned, she's like, magic isn't what people really think. I'm like, no, people think it's like what they show in the movies. And I mean, some of it is true, it's real, but the other stuff is like, okay, it's not like the fantasy type of magic. It's learning how to manipulate energy. And part of learning to manipulate energy is knowing how to play the game, knowing that you're not meant to believe everything you're trying to get sold. Those are all forms of manipulation, forms of energy trying to influence you. It's why I advocate for protecting your energy, because as much as there's good souls here, souls come, I don't want to say all souls are good. All souls are good and are here to learn something, right? Because they all come from source. But the purpose for the soul purpose can be different, because let's not forget, energy, there's duality with energy. So just as much as there's good energy, there's bad. And energy always remains always seeks balance. So it's why we're experiencing this great balancing. There's been so much bad energy in the world, in our bloodlines, that needs to be healed, that the energy is coming back around saying we need to heal this shit. This is why me and other people are being tasked to, to spread the word. This is how the universe really works. And it's time to show people. And I feel like a lot of us that have been on this journey for a while, this has been our time to show, like, look, this is how I've transformed my life. It's possible. If I could do it, you could do it. And it's true. It's why the media is always like doom and gloom. Why do you think they're always throwing the most like crazy, like it's like they're trying to, it almost seems like a competition, like who can come up with the most scariest headline to try to scare people into submission, to try to pit people against each other instead of for them thinking that they're each other's enemies, instead of really we're the enemies. Like they're the ones that don't care about humans, about humanity. They only care about their dollar. They only care about gaining profit. And the illusion is falling because the energy is saying enough is enough, and it's lifting the veil, and that's why people are waking up to the truth. But the real truth is that you have more power than you think, and that's what they don't want you to think. That's what they don't want you to believe. That's why do you think spiritual people are always portrayed as, oh, these crazy hippies on the media? Or when people think about spiritual people, what do you think? How do you picture a spiritual person? I always see these like exaggerated versions of them, or even non-exaggerated, but people make fun of it instead of taking it as real. They've manipulated the narrative into making you think, oh, they're crazy, they believe in aliens and shit like that. They always twist it into something that makes us look crazy or feel crazy. And that's been one of my biggest like ego flare-ups, is always me questioning my sanity. And I honestly feel like that's why spirit placed me in working in social services, because that like it confirmed for me, okay, I don't need to be hospitalized. Like it's not that deep. So what am I experiencing? And it kind of led me to like seek more and get more clarity on that. Once I got past the initial like overwhelm of it, of like, whoa, could this be actually real? Like once you open yourself up to the possibility, the universe is like, let's do this. And like it like shows you everything that, because it's excited to show you. It's like, it's almost like, I was just thinking earlier today, how I talk about how the universe gives you like leaves you breadcrumbs, and especially like you'll start to notice the breadcrumbs more when you finally open yourself up to the transformation. But the breadcrumbs have been there all along, even before you became aware of them, but you're just now becoming aware of them. The signs have always been there. Your spirit team has just been waiting for you to notice it and actually ask and actually like interact with it. And like, I'm at a point in my journey where things from my past, from even before I was awake, are coming back around, like to show me like those were breadcrumbs. Like my love for stars. I've always loved stars since I was little. My love for music, obviously, too. Like that. I always was in touch with my feelings and emotions. And I always liked to express myself through writing. And, words have always been a passion of mine. Words, expressing them, writing them, reading them, like typing them. Like, words are my favorite thing. Like getting to use a word to express yourself and how you feel, that just always amazed me. And now that's all part of my purpose. It's all part of my soul purpose. It's like it all finally clicks. It's like, oh, that's why I was into that stuff when I was younger. Or even songs, like songs that would really hit with me. And even when I was married sometimes, and there were like love songs sometimes, and I was like, I mean, I don't relate to it right now, but it really hit. Like something in my soul really stirred me. The music made my soul stir in a way. Not just love songs, but like other songs too that came back around. And I was like, is this why I always liked the song? It was because Spirit, for me in my journey, Spirit uses frequency of music like to heal, to activate, to do different things because songs have codes in them. And you're ready to receive those codes when when you reach a certain point in your journeys for different songs and different moments in your journey. So sometimes the song could come back around again in layers because energy works in layers. So it'll loop back around sometimes to give you a different activation, but for the same thing. Like you feel it most, at least I felt it most when I do my plant medicine journeys. Oh man, the sometimes like I feel the frequency before the song even starts when I'm in that state, and it feels so nice. Some other songs feel really cool, like massages my head, and it feels really awesome. And you could sometimes feel the parts of your body that it's being healed, like the chakras, because it'll hit different chakras too sometimes as as the frequency is working through your body and stuff like that. But yeah, some of the songs come back around and I'm like, is this why I've always loved this song? Like why did this song is always one of the songs that got me through one of like my roughest breakups when I like right after college that I used to listen to on repeat. It was Waiting for the End by Linkin Park. Spirit used that same song as my rebirth song. It's like the song that I used to get me through one of the toughest pains of my life at the time before my husband passed. This was way before when I was in college. So at the time, that was like the worst thing for me, right? It was a rough breakup. It was on and off for 4 years, a toxic relationship. And that was my song that got me through that ending. Whereas like the hardest part of ending is starting again. And then Spirit used that same song to initiate my rebirth. I thought that was awesome. I was like they transmuted that song for me, where it made it from a painful one into into one of rebirth. And it was so that's what's like the kind of things that Spirit does with music, with things like things throughout your life from your past that you were into will come back around like, and it'll all click. Oh, that's why. Like, maybe if you're someone that's passionate about art or something, but it's something that you just do as a hobby or something, maybe Spirit's encouraging you to try to do that for a living, and it's trying to prepare you to trust it more and to fully jump into the unknown about it. But maybe they're preparing you first, right? Until you feel comfortable or things like that. But the point of this that I was saying, I always do this. I always go on my little rants and then forget what I was talking about. But the point of this was to say that you decide. Like you get to decide the kind of life that you want to live. You just have to accept it and tell your team, let's work on this. Let's do this. And doesn't mean you'll necessarily have to leave your job right away. Not at all. Like it took a while for me to leave my job before I built that full trust to fully leave my job. Like, yeah, the universe is more than willing to prove to you, to show you, to show you first so that you could build that full trust before fully trusting, like you're just being encouraged to start that relationship, start that connection, start building that connection, start just by communicating, by saying, hey, I am here, spirit guides, I'm here, I'm open, show me how good life can get. Something simple as that. And then just let it go and trust it. Trust that whatever shows up, it's what's meant for you. And don't worry about time. Don't worry. You're always right on time. Even when you think things are running out of time, they're not. Trust me, I went through this so many times. I'm like, The more you worry about time, the more spirit is gonna get you to wait until you can no longer care, until you no longer care about time. Like, the more you can get to not care about the time, probably the faster things will happen, honestly, probably. I don't know. I'm not saying that from experience because I struggle with that myself. So I've heard other people talk about it, but I get so caught up. My brain gets too logic, and it's hard. We're logical thinkers, right? And that's part of being human, and that's part of the purpose of being here on earth is we're spiritual beings understanding how energy works in different dimensions, in different planets, in different galaxies, and earth is one of the hardest schools to get through for souls. And so if we're here on earth, if we're alive here on earth, we are strong as fuck souls because we decided to come here. We must be fucking badasses is all I'm saying. Like something I've learned, that all souls go through this learning process, right? Because that's how they grow, they evolve, right? They go from baby souls to becoming gods and goddesses, deities. They've all been souls that have gone through all this process, right? Because we're God experiencing its own creation. So it makes sense, right? And so what I've learned is that some souls are here on their last lifetime to learn to be master manifestors and teach people how it's done. It's part of their like graduation into becoming a deity or a advanced soul. Like you could become a guide, you can become, you become a higher level soul once you complete that part of your earth mission. And so a lot of souls that are waking up right now are those kind of souls that are on their last lifetime or one of their last lifetimes, right? The more you've lifetimes you've had, the wiser you get, and you'll be able to feel those souls. Those old souls, those are the ones that have their souls have been through everything, and they're on their last lifetime balancing the scales. That's what I learned my soul purpose is this lifetime. It's why part of my mission is to bring justice, bring energetic justice, right? A lot of the energy work I've done has been to bring balance to the world because the universe spirit has been wanting to work with awakened souls to make sure this happens. And so that's why we agreed to come here, because we knew this was going to be an important part of the human evolution. And some of the stuff is coming straight up channeled, by the way. I didn't know about this until I'm talking about it. I had some ideas. I didn't know the details or the specifics. And it's just all flowing as I'm talking. So just bear with me as that happens. And so, just to reiterate that you give everything meaning. So that includes how people perceive you, how the people around you are your mirrors. And so what I mean by that, I don't know if I mentioned in this podcast. I mentioned it somewhere. Podcast, TikTok, I don't care. Whatever. We are living in our own simulation, right? That's what our energy field is. It's our own simulation. So the people that you interact with in your life, in your simulation, they reflect back to you the assumptions that you have. So if you assume that someone feels or thinks about you a certain way, they have no choice but to reflect that back to you, because that's what your energy field, that's what your energy field is pinging to their energy field. So if you're always saying, oh my God, they hate me. Oh my God, why, what I did, she probably thinks I'm an idiot. Like, if you keep feeding yourself that information about someone, every time it's a ping toward their energy field. And so as that happens, their energy field is recalibrating. That means it's loading, right? Because it's loading the information you're giving it, because it's your reality. So it's your reality, not theirs. So they have no choice but to reflect back what you feel and assume they think about you, because that's where you're pinging at their field with your own thoughts and assumptions and stuff. Like I mentioned before, you know how I said our thoughts are not ours? So, this is what I mean by nothing is real until you make it real. So, thoughts are not yours. Thoughts are energy that flows through the chakras from the divine, okay? Especially after we set our energetic boundaries, so we only receive information that's aligned for our highest good, right? And so any information that flows through, it's up to you. You have the power to decide whether you're going to take that thought as truth or not. Okay? And that's the way that those are alignment checks as well. So, especially after you agree to work with the energy to become transformed, part of the loops include thoughts. Okay? So, the thoughts that come through are opportunities for you to decide, are you going to make that part of your identity or are you going to reject it? And so that's why people do affirmations. That's why people do things like that, because it helps their mental diet, because you're reprogramming your mind. Your mind is a computer. It's programmed wrong right now. You're uninstalling the old program and you're installing a new one. So in order to install the new program, you have to retrain it. You have to, there's this one book, it's like, that talks about the mechanics of that. I should look for it. It's like this psychosomatics. Like, I can't think of it right now. I'll have to look it up, and if anyone's interested, comment and I will find it for you and put it on there. But it talks about the technical, like, the way, like almost talks about the brain as a machine, like you feed it the information, it produces the results for you. That's essentially that's what manifesting is. That's what creating your ideal life is. But like I said, for those that have a soul calling, and like I said, there are different souls here on earth with different purposes, okay? There are some whose purpose is to manifest through pure awareness, to manifest without doing shadow work. That's possible. But there are those that are specifically here to do the shadow work, because the shadow work is required to clear the bloodlines. Energy it can't be destroyed. It gets passed down through generations. It can only be transmuted. And so the energy cannot be transmuted if the person doesn't awaken and doesn't become conscious of it. And there are a lot of ancestral energies coming through for people who want to work with you to clear those bloodlines. And again, make sure it's only energies aligned for your highest good, because even ancestors might not be for your highest good, especially those that, want the energy to stay like it is. There are some that are stuck in their own ways like that. So make sure you set those boundaries even with your ancestors. And then, my ancestors were so happy when they're like, they get so excited when someone in the bloodline is awake, because they're like, yes, finally someone else to continue the work too. I'm not saying I'm not the only Mexican that's awake. I'm sure there are other, but like they're just excited when another one person from the bloodline awakens and like, yes, let's do this work. Let's keep going. It's like, finally, this is our time. It's like the energy I've been feeling too. It's almost like we've finally been waiting for this. This is the moment we've been waiting for. Like, I got that from the trees too. I talked to my trees in the yard and they said that too. Like, their purpose is to work with me. Well, during this time, like, that's all they've been waiting for. They've been waiting for who knows how long, hundreds of years, maybe. I haven't gotten that information from them. But anyway, so souls have different purposes. My message is for those whose purpose is meant to do the inner work and do the inner healing. So, I know there are people on social media who just are like, now this is how you do it. There's no wrong way to manifest. There's no wrong way to create your ideal life. However you feel it's done, it's how it's done. So don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. Again, you're the one in control. You're the one with the power, and you get to decide which people you resonate with and which you don't. So if I'm not the one, that's totally fine. Doesn't mean I'm wrong. It just means I'm not the one that resonates with you, and that's okay. Just find the one that does resonate with you. So, it's like there's no exact right or wrong when it comes to that, because your own experience is your own experience, and no one can take that away from you. And it's the same with energy work. It's the same with your spiritual journey. There's a lot of people still stuck in ego, or still too focused on that, or like maybe too focused on the work instead of just flowing or just being, and you could be whoever you want to be. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. But then it goes right to my next point. What else do you have to lose? I was talking again on TikTok earlier today about how when my husband died, I wanted to die. I had no will to keep going. The only thing that motivated me to get out of bed most days was having to feed my dogs. I lost myself for a while. I lost my identity, because my identity was being Ricky's wife. I loved being his wife. I loved taking care of him. I loved him taking care of me. I loved the way we cared for each other and the life we were building together. He was my entire world. And that's why when he died, I lost my entire identity. I had an identity crisis, because I had placed my whole identity on being his wife. So when he died, I wanted to die. And that makes sense. I'm having that realization in real time now. Like, wait, that makes sense why I wanted to die. That was the energy want. It's like, because my identity had died. And that's why I wanted to die. Wow, that's crazy. But instead, it led me to pursue my soul purpose, because I seriously think he died and said, I need to tell her how this works, because that man lived to make me happy. And when he died, he's like, I can't be there to make her happy in person anymore. So I need to show her how it is. Because, I was just telling Maribel, the lady I met today, because she's also a widow. And she said her husband's death also led her to her spiritual awakening. And it reminded me of, so my husband died December 2020. And I didn't have a dream about him for months, and I was almost a little mad, almost a little annoyed, because I'm like, I just wanted to see him. I wanted to feel him, I wanted to have a moment with him in the spiritual thing, right? And I was a little annoyed. Like, actually, the day he died, that night, I actually had a dream that I married someone else, and I was so mad. I'm like, why am I dreaming about this? I just lost my husband. Like, the guy in the dream didn't have a face or anything, but it still pissed me off, because I was like, it wasn't Ricky, And so then he died in December. I moved into my condo in March. In April, I was about to start my new job at the shelter. I had been off work for like 2 months when I had quit my other job. It was actually the night before my new job, the day of my new job, actually, because I was trying to fall asleep and I couldn't. And so I was in that liminal state, where you're like half asleep. And all of a sudden I heard, so my husband used to love oldies music. It was that song, This Magic Moment, started playing. He used to sing that like in the car to me and kiss my hand while he sang it to me and stuff like that. So the day he died, I played it and I cried, so that song started playing. And then I was in this like white room, and he came into the picture, and he was smiling, and he started slow dance. Like, it's not really a slow song, but we were like slow dancing, even though it was that song, like we were just like, and he said, I love you, baby. And I lost it. Like, I was sobbing. It was as if he had just died all over again. And I remember calling my sister crying. It was like 3, 4 in the morning. I was like, Ricky just came to me, and like, again, why did he have to die? Like, and my sister's like, and you were annoyed that you hadn't had any dreams about him. Now you see why. I'm like, yeah, I know. But anyway, like, I started connecting with him energetically, and he's the one that told me, it's like, I've become one of your guides. He became one of my guides, and he actually was my guide like toward the beginning of my journey, and then he kind of stepped back once I got more comfortable in the journey. He stepped back. He's still always around, and but he stepped back as my guide and just let me work with my other guides and stuff. But I swear, like, I feel like he died, and then he said, I need to show her how this works. And I really feel like he did. And there are moments where I question myself, like I second guess myself, and he'll come through and he'll be like, I'm so proud of you. Or like when I sold my condo and I question, like, am I doing the right thing? Because my family thinks I'm not, my family thinks I'm going backwards, even though I told my dad, I'm like, I'm rebuilding, and sometimes to rebuild, things gotta fall apart, and it might look like I'm stepping back, but I'm not. And so I remember how much, like, leaving something for me meant to him. And so part of me was like, what if he doesn't like that I'm doing this? But like, before my thought even finished, he came through and was like, I'm so proud of you. No, keep going. So of course he would be happy, because whatever made me happy is what he wanted for me. But anyway, so what else do you have to lose? When my husband died, I had nothing else to lose. I had already lost everything. So instead, I asked for help. I told my family, like, I can't be alone right now. And I started soul searching. And going to therapy. Well, I was still going to therapy. That was already a thing. But I just kept working on myself and focusing on my healing. And it has only gotten better from there. So since he died in 2020, it's been 5 years. My life has only improved. I'm not saying that being on a spiritual journey is easy. It's not easy. You're gonna second guess yourself a lot. You're gonna wonder if you should quit. Maybe, it's a test of your endurance, of your spiritual endurance, but it is so worth it. It is so worth it. If I could get everyone to feel like how I feel, we would be living in a much better world, because I feel nothing but love and peace, and it's a good place to be. And I feel like I am sitting in a crowded room screaming that this is the truth. This is the way. This is the way for us to be happy. And no one's listening. Not in a like, oh, woe is me kind of way. Though I know people are listening. I trust that. Don't worry about that. That's not how I mean. I mean, like, like, I'm just so passionate about it that I'm just like, guys, the truth is here. Look, let me show you. But what I've noticed from this journey too is that some people like living in their misery, and that's sad. And I don't mean it in an insulting way to anyone who does this at all, but when I worked in my last job, I met someone who had lost her husband as well, but she became so, I don't know if she was like this before. So I don't know if she was like this before she lost her husband. I don't think she was, but and I don't, that's just my own assumption though, like, so don't take that as fact, but she could never find good in anything. Like, she was so negative. Like, you know, those people that just something's always wrong. Even when I thought I had good news for her, because she was trying to evade a Section 8 inspection because she was a hoarder, and I got something delayed for her, and I thought I had good news, and she was like, "Why would that make me happy?" And I'm like, "Well, now we get more time to try to figure out how to get this taken care of." She didn't want to take care of it. That's why she wasn't happy. But still, like, even that would have given me a little relief, even if I still didn't want to take care of my hoarding. Like, okay, that at least took something off. But no, she was still like, no, why? But then later I found out she was a widow, and then we when she learned that I was a widow too, like, we kind of connected in that, and like, she woke up to him dead. Like, that is traumatizing. Like, I can't imagine how I would be or react if that would have happened to me. Like, but I got to see, that's almost like a mirror moment, in that I got to see myself, a version of me in her that I could have been, because there were times where I'm like, I could easily become an alcoholic. And it was very tempting to just drink it all away. And that's part of the reason why I sought help with my thoughts, because it was the drinking that led to the dark thoughts. And I never drank heavily or anything like that. But anytime I was a little inebriated is when the dark thoughts would come. And that's what I didn't like. And so ever since then, I don't drink by myself. Just, I mean, not that I'm worried about that, but I just am not interested in drinking by myself. When I do drink, it's rarely. When I do drink, it's socially with, when we're having fun and things like that. So, but it just showed me, like, what I could have become, who I could have become. I could have let my grief, and that's why you have the power, because you get a difficult situation thrusted in front of you. You get the power to decide, how are you going to let this affect you? And I'm not saying don't feel sad or mad. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying feel your feelings and move through it instead of dwelling on it, letting that feeling sit in your body. Because that's the issue, is letting the emotion sit in your body without feeling it through and letting it move through your body. And that's the issue that we have right now, is we have all this unprocessed emotions and trauma, because we were taught to think that feeling our feelings was bad or wrong, or we were annoying for doing it, or we were too much for feeling our feelings. And now we all have those issues. Something we realized in my family, there's so much chronic pain issues in our family. But there's so much sexual abuse trauma in our family too, and on the women's side. And that coincides with all the back pains and fibromyalgia and stuff that runs in the family, I used to have chronic back pain. I haven't had it in a while, because I was involved in 2 car accidents. Both, none were my fault, and both I was rear-ended. One, my car was totaled, and the second time my car was in the shop for over a month. So my back would spaz out. Like, I would have to go to the chiropractor all the time. That I sometimes couldn't get up, or if I was sitting down for long periods of time, getting up would hurt and suck. Bending over would suck. I don't feel that chronic pain anymore. Now, whenever I feel any kind of pain on my back, it's the energy moving through me, and I just gotta stretch it out and breathe it out, and it moves through just fine. But You know, you gotta feel the feelings. I'm not saying when a difficult situation comes, don't react. React, but don't dwell on it either. You know what I mean? Move through it, feel your feelings, accept it, let it go, transmute it, right? If it's negative energy, transmute it into love, transmute it into power, transmute it into money. If it's negative energy coming from someone else, transmute that to money. Let them keep talking negatively about you. Let you add more money in your pocket, and they do it. That's how you hold your power. Not fighting back, not arguing back. Silence and transmutation. you know. So that's how awesome. That's how magic is. That's the magic. That's the magic. It's your our souls are the divine versions of us. So our souls are a piece of source, of God, the creator of all things. And God wanted to experience life through us, as us. So as the soul's journey, they decide, okay, what person are they going to be this time? What lessons are they going to learn? It's like a blueprint. So it's not the details. Like your soul didn't know exactly that you were going to be in this situation right now that you're in this moment. Or maybe they do. Maybe they know this is going to be when you awake. Like around this stage is when you will awaken. That it's more like a blueprint. They have an idea. They know the themes of the challenges you're going to face, but also the growth you're going to have. And it's like your soul gets amnesia as soon as you're born. And that's why you have your guides. Your guides are there to help you remember, to help guide you toward the path you're meant to walk, to help you remember. And like, I've had moments like that where it feels like I'm remembering. It feels like I'm like, yeah, this feels familiar. This feels right. It feels like I've done this before. That means you're aligned. That means that's how alignment feels. It's really cool. Just flowing through the day, seeing the way, like today with the lady in the antique shop. And then I came home and my altar had been, oh, I don't think I finished that story because I said my magic room is magic. I got home and okay, I left the door open for my pets, and Nyx does mess around on the altar even when she just had surgery and she has her little flower around her neck. But spirit works through her, and I had set there's like these rose quartz runes that were upside down triangle, because I've been doing a lot of divine masculine healing. So it was rearranged into like nothing, into just like, and some other things had moved around. So it was just like some activity that's been happening. And my guides had a message for me, and I'm doing some energy work with other things for my other manifestations that I like to keep private for now. But just to show, like, I don't know, just coming back to like, it's not the first time I come back to a moved altar. And yeah, Nyx moves my altar stuff, but like I said, spirit moves through her. So it turned out that the stuff that I like, the message, the energy work that was done while I was gone was in relation to what I did at the antique store. And I didn't realize that till I got home and noticed the changes, and then, meditated and got the full picture of what was really going on. Because your altar is your command center at home. And so your guides and stuff are still working from your home too. And so and with Nyx too, like Nyx's energy also, even though she's here, I work with her energy too, and other energies that are connected to my soul, I should say. But yeah, so what are you waiting for? Our world is being threatened right now. Our safety is being threatened. And you have the power to change this. If we get more people to believe that energy is infinite, that there's infinite resources at our fingertips, that that Earth is not in danger. There's no climate change. Earth is in perfect health. Gaia is in perfect health. She regenerates so all the time, like the the glaciers are freezing again. Things like that. If we all shift our collective consciousness, so I just said a lot of big words, so let me reel it back a little bit because I am trying to simplify these things for everyone. So, just how you feel and believe that what was true in your reality is what you experience, we can shift that collectively. So, if we can get a lot of people to believe that something is possible, it has no choice but to manifest. Okay? So if we all start believing and feeling, because it's true, energy is infinite. We can't technically create more energy, but we can shift to believing that we live on a planet that has unlimited resources. That's shifting your energy to a full abundance of energy, right? Because right now we're in the thought and belief that we're running out of energy, that the climate is getting worse, that the water is running out. But if we all start believing, oh, water, there's plenty of, there's always enough water. Water never runs out. There's always more than enough. The planet always stays in a healthy, balanced state where things always regenerate in a balanced way that keeps humans still living safe on Earth, and we can all still get unlimited resources. If we can get everyone to believe that, that's what we'll start experiencing. Because we can do that for our own reality. So we can do it at a collective level as well. But in order to do that, we have to shift our thinking, shift our energy. And that's the work that we've been doing. That's a lot of the work that those that have already been awakened and doing the work have been doing. And a lot of them are starting to come out on social media. They'll probably come across your page if they're meant to come, if you're meant to engage with them, if it's meant to be a part of your journey, they'll probably come across your page too, and you'll start to notice them more, especially now that I've brought it to your awareness. I love how energy works. And they're going to start showing you how they've been working on their spiritual journey. And we're going to start seeing proof that this works. I'm going to start showing. I've already been starting to show proof, but there's going to be bigger proofs because there's bigger manifestations I'm working on. Things that are like, people are going to be like, damn, I want to do that. But it takes so much faith to get to this point. So much faith. And I know a lot of people need proof before they want to try something. And I get that. I was the same way too. And I had to see other people. But don't dwell on seeing how everyone else is doing it before you finally take the leap. Because you'll be stuck in that loop for a while. I was stuck in that loop. Other awakened people will tell you they were stuck in that loop too. So, if you're gonna do it, just do it. Just say the words out loud. I don't want to sound like Edward Cullen or anything, but you have to say it out loud. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be out loud. It could be written, it could be internally, but out loud is most powerful. I feel the quickest shifts when I say things out loud, but either way, whatever you choose to believe is what will happen. So, and work with your team, work on your self-trust, do what you need to do to start working on those shadows. If you need to go to therapy, if you've been going to therapy and you don't know what else to do, go within, ask yourself, ask your higher self. Ask that inner voice, that one that sounds wiser, like it knows what it's doing. They'll tell you. It might be a picture, it might be a word, it might be a song. Follow that breadcrumb. See where it takes you. If you still don't get any clear answers on that, start following your joy. What makes you the most happy right now? Right now, because we're living in the now. We are always living in the now. So, what would make you happy right now? Start thinking about that ideal version of you when you think of yourself as the happiest version, the one with all the joy, all the love, all the peace in the world. You've never felt more happy and relaxed and fulfilled in your life. What is that person? How does that person look? What does that person look like? What do they do? If you don't know yet, what do they dress like? What do they walk like? Do they wear makeup? Do they wear their hair a certain way? Is there something on you right now that you can adjust a little bit, that a habit that you can change or improve that is a reflection of your higher self? Does your higher self go on a run once a week, or go walk in nature, go connect with the elements? What do they do? Go, if you don't know yet, if you still don't know, connect with nature, connect with the elements. They want to connect with you. They have answers. They're just waiting for you to come and seek them. The trees are so wise. There's no one more peaceful than a tree. Trees just stand there and let life live through them. That's how we're meant to live. Just relaxed like a tree and letting the energy flow through us. But we were conditioned to want to control every part of our life, because that's how we were taught it was supposed to be. But that's not how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be the other way around. We're supposed to live by faith, not by sight. We're supposed to receive the information, feel it with our body, and either accept it or reject it. Does that resonate with your higher self, or does it not? Do you picture yourself as that, of being a version of you or not? And then say yes or no, but you decide. That's the important part. You get to make the decision, because you're the one that has the power. And that divine version of you just wants to live fully within you, but it can't until you clear that energy, that stagnant energy. It can't fully move in until you clear that out. So I've used this metaphor before, but it's like you're inviting spirit over to your house and it's a hot mess. You're a hoarder, maybe, like that client I was talking about. Maybe, you just haven't scrubbed. I was a bad procrastinator at my old place. And that's something I really struggled with healing. And thankfully, I've been doing good here. I've been doing good, and it actually surprised me a little bit, because I was very worried. But no, I've been doing good, and I see the difference. Because I used to struggle with procrastination, and also like that feeling of, because for me, growing up, like when my parents asked me to clean, it was never good enough. It was never good enough. So I always had that thinking of, no matter how I clean, it's never going to be good enough. So I never really put much of an effort into cleaning. And obviously it came up, spirit mirrored it back to me, and I worked on it. I'm still working through it, right? But the most difficult part is like seeing, that was the most difficult part of living in the old place, is seeing that, of like, I had so much clutter, so much stuff, But I let Spirit come into my house, help me clean up. We cleaned together. It's a collaboration. You don't just invite them in and let them do all the work. You got to do your part too. And that's the issue with Christianity, is that they only do the work so far, and then Spirit's like, hey, what happened to the rest? You weren't done. Because people stay stuck in their loops because they don't do the work. They're more about performance, about the way you perceive them. They want you to perceive them as having a relationship with God and Spirit, but are they really? Are they doing the inner work? No, most of them are not. And I think we saw that recently with all the stuff that's been happening in the media lately with that group of people. But it's, like I said, inviting Spirit or God, whatever you want to call the energy, they expect you to do your part too. So they're going to keep bringing things to your attention. You could choose to ignore it or not. You still have free will, but you're just going to be aware. This time, like before, you didn't know that's what it was, right? But now you're just going to be aware, knowing that you're just not willing to face your shadows or not willing to heal things. And that's okay too. Maybe in this lifetime you're not meant to heal. But I encourage you though, if you feel the nudge, to do it, because the energy is insistent. And when you don't listen and you suppress it, it will mirror it to you through people, through events, until you do something. So there's also that, where it's how things manifest in the 3D. Is the work, internal work that needs addressing, will sometimes manifest in the 3D. Or things that you need to let go of too will become more and more uncomfortable for you. Like, you can't go back to how things were. You'll be living an uncomfortable life, knowing, being aware, and but that's fine. If that's how you want to live, that's fine too. But I'm just letting you know, the energy will get uncomfortable because your soul agreed to do this. That's the mission, is to heal. And so when you're not fulfilling your soul purpose, the soul's like, hey, we're supposed to be doing this. What are you doing? So it's going to feel uncomfortable because your soul is like, we got a job to do, dude. You know? Yeah. But right now, with everything going on in the world, rights are being threatened, jobs are being threatened, the scare tactics are being ramped up for a reason, because they want to keep you in the survival mode. They want to keep you scared, and they're going after your pockets now. They're saying, get rid of their jobs. Let's really scare them. What are they going to do without money now? Because they know that if they get you scared enough, you'll break and you'll finally do what they've been wanting you to do. They've been wanting us to fight. They've been wanting us to be against each other. And they're seeing that we're really not. We're not fighting how they wanted us to. And they're like, fuck. We gotta scare them into submission. But it's not working because the energy is not allowing it to work. It's time to collect. It's time for that system to fall down. And you following your soul purpose is making that system crumble even more. Don't accept everything you're told as truth until you do your own research. You're develop that discernment, that intuition, and you will know when people are trying to manipulate you. You will know when people are up to things. And then you get the power to decide if you let them get away with it and then just keep, like I do that sometimes. I'll just play along sometimes. I'm like, I know what you're doing, but I'll just save that information for later. Use it when it really benefits you, Not in a bad way, but you know what I mean? Like, so, yeah. Protect your energy. Even the people you love. If the people you love are not protecting their energy, the energies that are attached to them can attach to you. So, protect your energy. Even around the ones you love. Because they might even try to convince you that you're doing the wrong thing. And you might have to protect your energy from them too. And that's okay. It doesn't mean you don't love them. It means you love yourself more. And they'll come around because they're part of your soul family. You just have to trust that spirit is doing their part on them and just continue doing you and continue following your mission and your purpose. But, all right. I think that was long enough for now. Just remember, you're doing the best you can with what you have, and that's more than enough. I love you. Have a good one.